Welcome to the DSEF. The Direct Selling Executives Forum was created to be a place where real direct selling executives and vendors in the space can come out and share solutions to challenges that face us all in the marketplace. Our guest today is going to be unpacking a topic and sharing their raw thoughts for you to learn from. All right, let's go meet our guest. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our next episode of the Direct Selling Executives Forum. This week on our panel, we're covering the topic of when you move through these seasons, and we all do in our businesses as they grow over the decades, of a need to rebirth your company culture and your experience. And as we were thinking through your panel questions and the discussion about this specific topic, we thought there'd be no one better than Sunny Beutler to come and share with us here today. Sunny, it's so great to have you on the call. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
For those of you that are not familiar with Sunny, she has been appointed as Sunrider International's CEO in 2021. She is responsible for spearheading the company's business development strategy, overseeing global operations. She's definitely managed the many moving parts of Sunrider International's operations for over 16 years, from the logistical complexities of convention management to overseeing Sunrider's retail and direct selling businesses, hotel division, and the company's affiliate offices throughout both Europe and Asia. She brings her business acumen to bear in her role as CEO, with a mission to strengthen Sunrider's position as the original herbal nutrition and beauty company, offering health, holistic wellness, and opportunity for financial freedom. She's earned a Bachelor of Arts in International Studies and a Juris Doctor from Brigham Young University, has lived in Utah, Taipei, Virginia, Hong Kong, Tokyo, and calls Southern California home with her 4 lively children and very supportive husband. Sunny, total treat to have you on here today.
Thank you. That's a nice introduction.
Thinking through a lot of just the changes that have happened and even the seasons you've been on board at Sunrider, the last few years have been dynamic in our industry, and you're moving through changes that many other people are facing right here at the same time. So with that, I'll pass it to you, Omar, and we'll get started with the show.
Thank you, Sunny, for joining us today on our DSEF podcast. You're unpacking today the rebirthing your company culture and experience. Sunny, your family is a legend in the direct selling space. You've impacted millions of lives around the globe with Sunrider. Just recently, you've been appointed now to run the company as the next generation. What was it like to grow up with Sunrider?
Well, when we were growing up, Sunrider was life. I mean, that was just our life. So, my parents are the founders, and everything was intermingled. So family life, Sunrider, vacations were, 2 days business, 2 days fun. And then we just keep on doing that kind of pace, go to Israel, have a meeting, and then do a tour. Go to Australia, have a meeting, then do a tour. So everything is just totally combined. And my parents really wanted us to love the business from a young age. So they had us participate in all the presentations. We did lots of product demonstrations. So growing up with the business was life. That was just the way we did family time.
Wow, it's phenomenal. I think it's such a blessing to have parents who include us in that. I think so many times, it wasn't like, hey, they held it back till you were 18 and then said, hey, did you want to do this? But you just saw it as a normal part of everyday living. It's like, hey, we do this together. That's a special gift from mom and dad for sure. It's very, very cool.
After summer school, go to the office and help out. that's it's just like any family business. You just go and help out after school. You do whatever your parents tell you and help them out whenever they need. So
Absolutely. Thank you very much for such a great story. Now, the next question from the panel is, when did you know you wanted to be involved in the business long term?
So that's a different question, right? I mean, when we were younger, growing up, it was just natural to feel like, oh yeah, I want to do it. As you get older, you're going to college. I was like, man, do I really want to do this? And, my parents, even though they really wanted us, I know they did. They always told us, you should pursue whatever you want in college. So we all did different kinds of degrees. Figure out if you really want to come back, because, they don't want to be pulling teeth, begging you to come back. So they let me come to my own decision, and same with my siblings as well. So there's a little bit of pressure, they're kind of like, oh, we really want you, but, they let us make our own decision. So I went to law school. I thought I wanted to be an attorney. I did like a lot of internships because I was like, okay, if I don't want to do Sunrider, I have to really try out everything I can. So I did like NGOs. I worked in courthouse. I worked at a DA's office in Orange County. I worked internationally. I helped with like some AmCham events in Beijing. And so I tried to do everything I could just to look outside the box, my box being Sunrider. And at the end of it all, I was just thinking to myself, I was like, man, if I really want to help a lot of people, is it as an attorney? Because I know as an attorney, you're really case by case, right? So I could definitely help people, but the reach is really limited. And for direct selling, the reach is infinite. You can touch so many people's lives. You wouldn't even know about it because you're just trying to, spread the word. And so I prayed about it a lot. And I called my mom and I told her, okay, I'm in. After law school, I want to come back and work for Sunrider. And she was happy, but then she's like, you do know this is a 24/7 business. And if I ask you to do something, you have to be available. And I said, okay, I understand. And they always gave us my parents always expected us to achieve high things and good work ethic. I learned from them because they're just workaholics, just nonstop. So I was like, if I do what you do, I can do it. So I told them I was in. And so that's when it started. And I didn't start from the top. So we started at the bottom. Yeah, it was a good experience.
So what's really interesting to me about the way your parents modeled leadership, and I think it's so good, is you talk about how they didn't force you to come into Sunrider, but they wanted you to want it. And I think that's a critical lesson when we're hiring our executive teams, when we're even looking for people to be our promoters out there in the field of our businesses. I run into these situations you see all the time, Sonny. There's people who watch these podcasts where they kind of are in the pay to play world where they're buying leaders, doing all this other stuff to try and somehow get growth. And that's a totally different culture than saying, no, here we are. This is our story. But hey, we're good. Like we're going to do great and big things with or without you. The people we want on the bus are the ones who want to be here. And when you keep that positioning strong in your business, you attract the right people, both in your corporate team and in the field. And so the modeling your parents shared with you there, I see as such an important lesson for people who, if you're not living that way as an executive team and you're watching this podcast right now, you want people who want to be on your bus for the right reasons on your team. It's critical to any direction you're going to be going as a business. When we talk about this rebirthing topic, that's going to be very, very important. And that the second thing you shared, Sonny, that I think is really good is your parents talked about the expectations. This is a 24-hour business. You're in a lot of countries. This isn't like you're in one or two markets. And by the time you're going to bed in Orange County, everyone else is already up for the day in Japan. And by the time they're going to bed, you're getting up. So it's one of those businesses where there's going to be stuff, there's going to be meetings 24 hours a day all around the world to be a part of. And you'll have to understand how to make that workable while you steward the other roles of your life as mom and wife and friend and everyone else in your world.
I think the mom role makes it even more difficult with all the international time zones. But I'm just so I think, okay, into Europe, I gotta wake up extra early so I can get on before my kids wake up, right? So it's a pre-kid wake up. And then or after kids go to school. Because I don't want my staff to work super late all the time, right? I do want them to have a life outside of Sunrider. So I try to accommodate their time as much as possible because I have a really great support at home. So I know my husband will get all the kids ready. I know, I have people who can help me here. So I try to accommodate them as much as possible. So it's either early, late.
Yep.
But I am myself a night owl, so I definitely prefer late. I'd rather have a meeting at like midnight versus at like 6 a.m. So I kind of aim in that direction. But yeah, I mean, it's just my parents had such a great work ethic. And for all of us children, we knew growing up, they didn't exaggerate their stories in life to us. They're like, yeah, this is just the way it was. They grew up very poor in Asia. My dad was very, very poor growing up. He's like, yeah, we slept with pigs because the pigs didn't have anywhere else to go. So we slept with them. they were inside the home, And so it's just the way it was. And so my mom's like, yeah, my house was, their apartment was like a full hour by train from school. So, walk to the train station, go onto the train, then come back in the afternoon and, things like that. So I knew if they can do it and their life was so much harder, then I can
Yeah.
do mine. Yeah.
Amen.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
it
amen.
is
Yes.
funny which things get us caught up these days. We think
Mhm.
about what even your parents have gone through, or even my own. You
Yeah.
think those stories definitely help you get over your own excuses. That's a powerful reminder, Sonny.
Absolutely. 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 Well, the next question about the CEO, why was the time right for you to take on running the business,
Yeah.
when you become the CEO?
Well, we had been talking about it for quite a while. So in our business, there's five of us, five children, siblings, and we're really close. So we were talking about it with our parents for a few years before I actually took over. And we all have very different personalities and we're very supportive of each other. So we were talking about it. I knew that some of them did not want to be involved full time, which is fine. They could do their own thing. One of my siblings, he's like, no, I just really don't want to do very much. I said, that's fine. And so in the end, we decided it was myself to be CEO and my brother who was going to be chief manufacturing officer. My other brother, he's a medical doctor. He still wanted to practice
Right.
medicine. He's like, I
Hmm.
I went to school for this many years. I'm
Yeah.
definitely going to keep on doing medicine. So he does that a couple days a week, and then he does Sunrider a few days a week. So he
Got it.
maintains his own practice still. And so we all kind of work together. We try to make sure that everyone's doing what they wanted to do. And after we decided that, then my parents and I and my siblings, we all went through with a consultant to try and figure out how do we structure our family business,
Mm,
where we start separating out
Right.
personal life from professional life
that's why.
and also prepare for the future. Because my parents know they're not going to live forever and they wanted us to have something to live for. So, it just came to the point because we'd already been working in the company for like 16 years. I had already been doing it for a long time. And my parents, it just so happened that the pandemic happened like right before.
Hmm.
And we were all at home a lot and we're like, okay, we
Hmm.
just better speed this up. So we
Yeah.
just sped up a little bit. Yeah.
And what a blessing to do the transition to Sunny while your parents were living. That's such a good note, just as a real note. And
Yeah.
if like family business stuff, for those who don't know the line, I hear that sometimes from family businesses that are very large companies. And I'll sometimes hear my friends who are the kids, running the business or the next generation saying, oh, well, when mom and dad pass, we'll figure it out. We'll never get it sorted out while they're here. And I say, that is not a ticket. That's not a ticket to a show you want to sign up for, is what I always try to say, because
Yeah.
even in my family's fourth generation in one of the businesses we run. And I'm so grateful when these big transition conversations happen with the previous generation involved, whether a consultant or the others, because you can help with so many of the questions about what are their wishes or what could that look like in a transition. It's so healthy to have the previous generation with those conversations, because then it wasn't ever, oh,
Absolutely.
that's what my brother wanted or what my sister wanted. It's like, no, that's actually was mom and dad's original wishes. Keeps the family love in a good place
Yeah.
moving forward. So
Yeah, we didn't want
yeah,
it to be a messy transition at
yeah,
all. That
uh,
that that's like a nightmare
Yeah.
for a
yeah,
company, right? To have something kind of so in flux that you don't know what's going to happen.
yeah,
And so my parents, they in their mind, this is a legacy business. So they
yeah,
want it to last for generations. And so they really wanted to prepare for it.
yeah.
So it was great. We talked about a lot about our values, their values, our values, where we were linked together. And so we could have a common place to start with as we move forward in this transition.
That's good.
Wow. Talking about transition, Sunny, as you've begun to make updates to the company to be
Mm,
relevant today and at the same time preserve the heritage of Sunrider, what
sure.
framework have you chosen to apply for making decisions?
I chose a really great C-suite first. So that was our first order of business. We already knew a couple of people that we wanted to tap into, but we got a really great CMO, Deb Bursley. We have CIO, Gareth Hooper. So they were our first two C-suite hires. Marketing and IT is a big focus for us right now. And I think they've been doing a great job helping us to keep updated on technology, especially we have our new mobile app that we just came out with and we're launching it worldwide. He's working a lot with AI. So Gareth is
Wow.
really excited for it, trying to get AI into our app, into our website,
Sure.
to help as like kind of like a mentoring coach for our IBOs, right? Because sometimes they have questions and, the office isn't open, they need to ask a lot of questions. So we're going to come out with some really great stuff. And I know he's excited to announce it in a few months at our convention. So
Cool.
yeah, and our marketing side, we're really pushing a lot more on social media, but also on things like Salesforce, right? Email marketing, SMS marketing, things like that. We're just trying to touch all the base points. And so those are our first two C-suite hires. And so, when I started getting my C-suite together, we just started, I told them what I wanted, but obviously they have a lot of experience in the industry. They've worked with many different companies. And so I really listened to them, did a lot of research. We bounce off ideas from each other. And I still talk with my family a lot. I know people are like, oh, you still talk? Yeah, my parents, everyone's still on the board. And so I actually was living at their house while I was renovating my own for like a year. So it was a daily conversation. We just talked a lot about the business and where we want to take it and ideas for expansion. And so I still talk to my siblings every week. People are like, that's a little too frequent. I'm like, well, it's good for me to know that I'm not just all in my head, because I know I can see things from my perspective, right? But how am I supposed to know what other people are thinking if I'm only talking to myself? So I like to ask a lot of different people. So I ask my siblings, I ask the C-suite, we ask our regional executives, so I ask lots of questions, get people's ideas, and try to figure out where the common touch points are and expand on those.
Yeah, it's a really wise framework of what you were just sharing, Sunny. We talk about book recommendations at time on the DSEF panels. There's a good book we had just wrapped up as a team called The Five Voices. And in there, it talks about how sometimes as a visionary, we can come out with our initiatives or the things we want to do. And when we share those as a visionary, sometimes they're not heard the way they could be across the organization. And then, oh my gosh, we alienated this group or alienated that group. And I love how you shared you got this solid team of very different gifts. I mean, if you think about who you put on, these are not clones. These are not Sunny clones at all. These are all very, very different people you put into your C-suite. And we can learn from that because sometimes we, work with people we like to work with. We miss some of the different gifts. You had a lot of people with very different giftedness on your staff, and you're slowing down to go fast. You're bringing your objectives to that core team and to the family while you're honoring heritage, and then saying, okay, what does execution actually look like if we're going to do this? And it is important. You can miss a lot of pain of doing that well, right? There's always pitfalls and challenges that come up, but by actually bringing your initiatives forward instead of just running to the top of the mountain immediately, there's a lot that can be done. That's really good.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, the next question is about is about the same. What would you say is the biggest pitfall you have faced in your new role?
There are a lot of difficulties. I think one of the biggest pitfalls is probably because I'm not my parents. So my parents built the business. They know everything about it. They were very, very close to all of our IBOs. So I am not them, right? And they still have a really important role. So I try to use my parents as much as possible. So they talk with the field a lot. We have meetings with them, and everyone wants to listen to them. And I totally understand that because they are the ones who founded the business. My dad makes all the products. I mean, he knew what he was doing when he formulated all our herbal nutrition supplements and things like that. So I definitely want my parents to live as long as possible so I can keep on, getting them to talk about the products, talk about how they started Sunrider, their ideas, and their wisdom. So I really need them, I'm like, exercise a lot, stay around. So they're both healthy, but I'm just, I use them a lot. And I think one of the difficult challenges is trying to find a balance between social media and in person, right? I think that's like a big challenge right now because it's so easy to want to do everything online, right? It's like it's not lazy, but it's just so much more convenient. But meeting in person is so important. So we're trying to find the right balance, right? How do we get as many people participating as possible, but do something that's really actionable? So I think we're still trying to find that balance. So we're still trying to figure out how many in-person meetings versus how many virtual meetings, and what's really kind of the sweet point for our IBOs and for our leaders.
We've heard that feedback before. Like, you're not alone in that thought, Sonny, at all. And I think that a lot of executives, you have to make this decision when you move into such a big role as a transition of like, so how extensive is the listening tour? You know, people call it the listening tours. The CEO goes out and does physical events in all these different countries around the world. And you sit there and you kind of say, okay, I have to transition these relationships from in person with coffee and whatever else and tea with all these people from my parents to me. And that is something to figure out. Like, it's not an easy answer, but you can see that. I could list a number of other transitions of even people who've been on the show where we've unpacked that thought of, okay, how deep should the listening tour go? Is it a 3-month listening tour? Is it a 6-month listening tour of just going around the world? And yes, oh, it's so good to meet you in person and connecting that, because that is the next bond. Like, that is what's next. You think about when people come from outside of even a family to take over next roles, that's usually a lot of their question. And you're right, some of it's on social, and it's really hard to beat that face to face, I was to say belly to belly relationships. That's a big key part.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you very much for both of you. Next question is, as you've rolled out your newest initiatives, what has surprised you about the marketplace and or your members' behavior today in 2024?
I feel like attention spans are a lot shorter. And so we're reviewing a lot of our content and trying to make it, much more bite-sized. So like we used to do videos or meetings that were like an hour long. No, we can't do that anymore, right? Especially if it's virtual.
Yeah.
So everything for us, like if we're having a virtual meeting with like a group of leaders, we try to keep it to like 30 minutes. I mean, everyone is very busy, but also like the attention span is just so much shorter. I feel like everyone's consumed so much media that it's just fast, fast, fast. So I think that's a big challenge for us, is to really shrink the size and make sure that we're much more targeted. Like, I can't just have a meeting because I want to have a meeting. You have to have a meeting with very specific purpose, with a lot of content involved, and try to keep people's attention that way. And I think before, people were on their computers a lot, but now everyone's on their phone, right? So now I feel like we really have to, so that's why the IT, we're like, okay, so now we have to kind of switch and kind of gear towards the mobile, especially in Asia. It's all mobile, like, or even like a tablet. So nobody does a computer there. People don't remember their cell phone numbers, they're all on like WhatsApp or WeChat. So it's like, I mean, just so many things in technology are shifting so quickly, I think. So we need to really keep on top of that. And we do have advisor groups with our different IBOs in different countries, and trying to kind of garner their input on what they want and what they see and what will be most useful for them.
And you're right. You're right on with feeling those short attention spans. We're seeing that across everything. And when you talk about social media and even the way we interact with one another, it's changed drastically. I've seen just examples of what you're talking about, to where, like, more than in the past, we used to, want someone to come into a physical event for 2 hours. And now we're getting traction by having, this IBO react to a compliant 30-second reel, and it's like, wait a minute, how far as fast is this thing changing? We might have, someone using one of your dad's products and, and enjoying it. And then someone else is just reacting to it. And like, that's going to be more viral than anything else amongst their friends, to get appointments or to get people to try a product, more than even someone sitting down for a half an hour and talking about it to you. It is how we've changed to consume things. So many times just
and I'm impressed with. You go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I would just say the consumer, they've changed so much. Just the plain consumer of what's expected has changed so much just in recent years. It's not just the IBO, it's the consumer at the end of the day. Go ahead.
I was just saying, my dad, he's in his 70s, but he's adjusted the way he speaks too, because he notices that attentions are going down. So I remember when I was younger, he used to speak for like 2 hours at a time. Like, he'd go on forever. And now he's like 20 minutes. Like, he like puts everything, he wraps all up in like 20 minutes. And I think everyone's like, oh, that's it. I'm like, but that is it, because the attention just goes away afterwards. So he's been much more succinct, and he's been noticing a lot too. He's like, oh, I need to keep it short.
Yeah. Sunny, it's such a treat to have you here today. Before we go to our final question with Omar, I want to give a caveat here. We have lots of different types of executives who listen to our webinars, and we do keep the shows to rate about a half an hour for the exact same reason of short attention spans. This question comes from the group that we always have in our forum, and they are the overloaded, just tired executive. They're the person who's already got initiatives for the next 24 months on their radar, and they're always wondering about, they always ask us about the one thing, right? Okay, boil it down for me. What's the one thing? So Omar, let's go to the our final panel question for the day.
Thank you, Ben. Well, Sunny, if you were going to share one thing for other women leaders to keep in mind as they steward their roles, what would that be?
I would probably say, what is your audience and what is your goal? Because there are a lot of things that we can put to the side, a lot of extras that are great to have, but not very necessary. So I would say, if you have so many things that are crowding your attention, just say, what is the goal? Like, what is the goal of this meeting? What is the goal of this event? What is the goal of the year? And how do I really focus in on that? And then if I have time, I can slide everything else in. So I would just say, be really clear on what the goal is, what the audience is, what your focus is. Very easy to get pulled aside. And I hear it all the time. They're like, oh, but what about this and this? I'm like, no. I'm like, we need to really focus in. So make sure you know who your audience is. Make sure you know exactly what your goal is. And then I think it'll just be a lot easier to simplify.
I love that picture that you're sharing, Sunny. And just from pulling out that question, Omar, that we'd like to give book recommendations on the call for those of you executives that are growing. And what Sunny just shared is wisdom that if you want to take that thought deeper, Tim Keller, who founded Keller Williams, has a book called The One Thing that you can grab on audio and check out. And he talks about how many times getting more done is not just about prioritizing, but what you say no to, right? And what you pull off your list. And what's just that one thing that makes all the difference in moving your mission forward. And couldn't agree more, Sunny, in just thinking about how there's that clarity of putting your energy into the right thing is so much more important than just, 10% of your energy into all the things at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Total treat to have you here on the show today, Sunny. And Omar, thank you so much for panel hosting for us today.
Thank you, Sunny. Thank you, Ben.
And we're excited to see where Sunrider goes. I know that change isn't always instant. It takes time over this next run. So we're cheering for you on this transition and the impact of these new leaders and just the next season of the heritage of your business. Know that we're excited about just the real impact you'll have even in this next season, as all of Garrett's work and everything else just moves it all forward to convention and beyond. So it's been cool to see some of the staff you've been attracting to the executive team. I have a few friends in there that have joined your team. It's cool to see that. And I saw you got Crandall on there. I'm like, oh my gosh, Crandall's spoken on the show. So he was a panel guest on our show back when he was with Shackley. So he's been on the show, the very same show before. He spoke with the LifeVantage and the Norwex teams on the show in the past. So it's always a gift just to see just the people you're attracting as you're stepping forward with your mission and your vision. For those of you that want to read up on Sunrider or see all things about them, do just check out their website, add Sunny on LinkedIn and connect, and you can go from there. Thank you so much for being here today. Wishing you all the best. Have an amazing day, and we'll talk with you soon. Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.
If you haven't yet joined the DSEF group on LinkedIn, go to directSellingExecutiveForum.com or go on LinkedIn and search for Direct Selling Executive Forum to apply. The group is free and is an invite-only community of direct selling executives by direct selling executives.